Greetings from the ice skating pond at Eagle Creek Park. I'm Stephanie. I'm a naturalist at the Eagle Creek Park Ornithology Center, and today I thought it would be a lot of fun if we did a little virtual birding hike of our skating pond here. It's a relatively short hike that's pretty flat, but it's mostly on grass, and hopefully we'll see some cool birds today. All right, to start us off, we've got a couple of Canada geese here. Oh, hold on, there's something flying over the water. Okay, so I just saw two green herons flying over the water. They are pretty small and compact, especially if you've seen a great blue heron, but they were flying over and they landed in a couple of trees across the way here, and I got a little bit of footage of them. They're pretty far away now. I'll try to see if I can get any closer looks when we make our way over that way. All right, so I've moved over a little to give the geese their space while they're feeding, but I just saw a pied-billed grebe that's out here on the water. It's kind of interesting that it hasn't dove down yet. Normally, as soon as you get a look at them, they dive down into the water. They are kind of like ducks, but they are small, round birds, and they have kind of a black line across their bill. Really neat to see those. Other birds that you might see here at the skating pond include red-winged blackbirds. One just flew down there. We see different herons, typically green herons. There have also been bittern seen here at the skating pond. There's also been soras, which are a kind of rail. There's been Virginia rail here. And then we get a number of warblers in the trees, and it looks like there's probably a tree swallow flying over the water right now too. So there's a great bit of diversity here at the skating pond, even for just such a small space. All right, so to start off, we are going to head south toward the shack here. I'm looking alongside the ground here where it meets the water. Looking for rails. Rails are pretty tiny birds, but they're a bit bigger than what you would think of with our songbirds, and they are very sneaky, so I will probably stop talking here soon so that we can try to get a look at a rail today. All right, so we are going to head east now. I did want to say that there are a couple of small trails that loop around the smaller ponds here. You might be able to see one through the leaves there that are at the skating pond. Definitely worth taking a look at. I don't think we'll go through there today. It's probably pretty overgrown right now, but we'll see. There are a couple of lookout points here at the skating pond where you can look out at the water. Sometimes you can see birds walking along the edge of the water, or you can see birds all the way across the pond. All right, so we are coming up on the next turn. We are going to turn left and head north now, and then we will be along the tree line. We'll get some little views of the water here, but then it'll be much more woods. The wood thrushes are singing quite loud now, so I'm hearing them a lot better. There's also some blue jays that are calling, along with the red-winged blackbirds that have not given up yet, but here's another look at the skating pond really quick before we move on. All right, so we have turned left and we are heading back north now. Typically through this area, I see brown thrashers. There have been warblers seen in the trees here, though it doesn't appear like they are there today. I have seen yellow-throated warblers through here, yellow warblers, and several other different types in years past. But there are some sparrows up there. We'll try to get a closer look at them, and then there was a robin that just went by. So I just caught the tail end of a couple of green herons flying over to the north side of the pond here. I imagine that they're the same two green herons that we saw earlier, but always could be different, but I'm gonna guess they're the same. Let's see what else is up here. Well, this stretch of the skating pond has been pretty quiet today. I will say that I am birding and recording this in the afternoon. Typically, I would try to bird in the mornings. We'll see if there's anything around the corner here. We're about to hang a left and head west. I don't know if you can hear that, but those are our pied-billed grebes that are calling. I actually just turned around to come back down the more wooded section of the trail because as soon as I stopped recording, there was a gray catbird that started calling behind me. I tried to get a look at it. As soon as I got my camera put on it, it flew really deep into the brush and I have not been able to see it since. So it's probably hiding back there somewhere, but I'm gonna leave it alone. So there was an eastern bluebird sitting on this bluebird box. It was pretty washed out in terms of color. Typically they are bright blue on the back and then orange on the bellies. This one is pretty pale overall. It is now flown into a tree. And then right as I was looking at that, a blue jay flew over and sat in a tree pretty close by for a minute and then hopped over and flew off south. So I just rounded the corner and out popped a gray catbird, a much better view of one. These birds are mostly all gray. They have a black cap and then some rusty red on the underside of their tail. And they are mimids also, just like our brown thrashers. So they sing a very complex song. They are also known for their mew call, which is why they're called catbirds, right? So they make a mew sound. It sounds just like a little cat. It's pretty cute. So I typically like to check this area that gets flooded all the time. I've seen wood ducks, I've seen mallards in here. I believe there was a shorebird spotted here last year. And then one time I saw a prothonotary warbler in here. So I just got done taking a look at this flooded area behind me. There were a couple of wood ducks, some blue jays, titmice, robins, and then there was a palm warbler. Now these little warblers are yellow, kind of drab looking, but then they have some red on their head, and then they are constantly bobbing their tail up and down. It's really cute. So right as I was about to leave this area, I decided I would take one more look. I saw our palm warbler again, and I also saw a red-bellied woodpecker. Now their name can be a little misleading. They do have a little bit of red on their belly, but you'd be hard-pressed to see it out in the wild. They also have red on their heads, which often gets them confused with red-headed woodpeckers, but red-headed woodpeckers have an entirely red head rather than the red-bellied. In addition, I got a really quick look at a rose-breasted grosbeak, which are just absolutely beautiful birds. And I love those kinds of moments in birding where you're just about to leave an area and then a bunch of birds come in and make it all the more great. So I turn around from the flooded area and look at the trees behind me, and there's a tree swallow sitting there preening. They have these really pretty dark blue backs and then white bellies, and this bird was just sitting, working on its feathers a little bit. It's not exactly the kind of bird I would expect to see perched up in a tree. Typically I see them flying over water. It was a really cool look. I love moments in birding like that when you're not expecting to see a particular kind of bird and then one is just right there for you. All right, let's continue on our way. We are headed west still along the skating pond, and as soon as we hit the end of this stretch, we're gonna turn left and we'll be right back at the beginning. Like I said, this is a relatively short and easy hike. So the last stretch of the hike has been relatively quiet, only a blue jay and some red-winged blackbirds and then some tree swallows flying over, but it is getting later into the afternoon, so I wouldn't expect to see as many birds. I come around the corner here and find our pied-billed grebes. There's a pair of them. Oh, one just dove down, but they have been hanging out here and preening for a little bit. They are really cute birds, really tiny. Typically I would expect to see only one, but it is breeding season, so there are two. I was just about to wrap up when a belted kingfisher flew in. These are kind of stocky birds with large bills. They tend to hunt along streams and waterways, and they have this really loud rattling call, which unfortunately I didn't get to hear today, but I did get a great look at it. This is a male. Males have white bellies, whereas the females actually have the brighter color. They have a rust kind of belt across their belly. They are really cool birds. And then I also got to see an eastern phoebe, which is a kind of flycatcher. I've really enjoyed this trip around the skating pond. I hope that you all have too. I think we saw some really great birds today. I am sorry we didn't get to see a rail, but that's how it goes with birding. I think that surprise belted kingfisher at the end more than makes up for it. Thank you so much for joining me today.